Hi, my name is Micaiah from Junior High School 189, and I'm giving you the scoop on Mick Maloney and Linwood Sloan. How did your group get started?
Well, this particular group is called the Greenfields of America, and we got started back in 1978. And we've been playing in one form or another ever since. We thought it was a good idea to tour America and to, show audiences what was very unknown at that time. Irish music, traditional music, and singing and dancing. Dancing was unknown to America at that time, the step dancing. And our first dancer was a man called Michael Flatley. He's kind of famous today.
How did you meet your band members?
At different places and different times. I've known Jerry O'Sullivan, the piper, for over 30 years. I met him here in New York. And a lot of Irish music is played in what we call sessions. We get together just informally and we play the music. And you'd meet musicians at sessions. And then you'd get to hear about musicians that are good. We're all part of one big extended family. I met Athena in New York about 15 years ago in a pub. And I met Brendan Dolan, I don't even remember when I met him. I met Billy McComiskey in 1975, playing in a pub in Washington. And a lot of us meet in pubs. But then the music, of course, has gone onto the big stage now. So Liz Hanley was one of my students in New York City, in New York University, in New York City. And she was one of my best students. And that was 10 years ago. And she's been playing with me ever since. And the Niall O'Leary, I met him here in the dancing community. And Jake James, who was here, it's the first time he ever performed with us today. One of the dancers, and he played the bodhrán and the fiddle as well. So I meet them all in different ways.
What are some of the instruments you guys play?
We play the piano. Brendan Dolan played the piano. The Irish pipes, the Uilleann pipes, was played by Jerry O'Sullivan. Liz Hanley plays the fiddle, and she also sings. And we call it a fiddle in Irish music. It's a violin too. It's the same instrument. It's just in classical music it's called the violin. And then Bill McComiskey plays the button accordion, the two-row diatonic accordion. And Athena Turgis plays the 5-string fiddle, very interesting, an extra string, kind of like a viola. I play the tenor banjo and the octave mandolin. And then Jake also, as well as being a fiddler and a dancer, he plays the bodhrán, the goatskin drum.
What made you come up with the idea to merge Irish heritage with African American heritage?
When I started to hear the similarities in some of the music, and when I saw tap dancing for the first time, very close up, and I realized that some of the moves were similar, a lot different, but some similarities. And I realized there was a historical connection between the two groups. And myself and Lenny Sloan, the choreographer, we would talk for a long time about bringing things together on the stage. And the first time we did it was last December in New York, and this is the second time. And we're really having a ball. You can see yourself that there's similarities. There are differences too, but we celebrate both.
How did you meet Linwood Sloan?
I met him, first of all, I saw him in a film called Ethnic Notions. And it's a great film. Every high school person should look at that film. It's very educational about the different images of black culture in America and how they were formed and all the stereotypes. And then I met him in Washington. He was working for the National Endowment for the Arts, and I was a panelist. And I met him and told him how much I admired his work, and he said he liked my music, and we've been friends ever since. That was over 20 years ago.
How does it feel to win the Arts Heritage Award?
Well, I was shocked. I mean, I thought other people deserved it rather than me. I could think of an awful lot of people. But, winning it is an honor. But when you get any honor like that, and I hope if you get any honors, it would actually, it makes you want to be better. Because you think, now I better do something to deserve it. So it's actually a very good incentive to become better in what you do.
Now we have a few moments with Linwood Sloan. What is the story behind the cakewalk?
The story behind the cakewalk is that the dance began originally in the Caribbean and in the Georgia Sea Islands and the Mississippi River Ring around New Orleans, where as a pastime, the masters of large plantations would have the enslaved and the Irishmen do competitions of strutting dances and syncopated dances. The prize was a small honey cake made out of cornmeal and honey and sesame seeds. When you had a diet that was only roots and yams and potatoes, that cake was a pretty good prize. As the dance evolved, the contest became a bakery cake, and women would bake these beautiful cakes, and the winner would win a confection cake with strawberries and cream and all that wonderful thing. By the time it reached the boards, we call them, the stages of America, the cakewalk was actually a competition where the box office was the cake. And the dancers in the show would challenge the audience to win their money back by doing this cakewalk. So that's where we get the term "that takes the cake," because they would win either a literal cake, a confectionery cake, or a week's pay. You know? The dance comes from Russian, Italian, Irish, and African American origins. And the American cakewalk also has quite a bit of Greek kicks and Kazakhsky Russian spins.
What is the European form?
The European form is a turnout form. The form came out of three traditions. The first tradition was ballroom dancing, court dancing. The second was, and the court was in a square, by the way. The audience was on all four sides, and so the dance was turned out so that you presented yourself on all four sides. The form rotates the hips forward. You think of ballet dancing now, it's the remnants of our court dancing. It was also fencing. The positions are also the same positions that a gentleman when he learned fencing would. And also elocution. Someone who spoke would stand in those poses. In fact, if you were a public speaker, there were 72 pictures that you were supposed to study. Thoughtfulness, envy, and each of those positions you studied, and as you made your speech, you would strike these poses. Well, all of those things formed into what we now know as ballet and formal dancing, or the European form.
What are some of the characteristics of African dancing?
Well, the African form is very different than the European form. The European form is stacked like an hourglass. Okay? So from the hips down, you think of one triangle on its base. And from the hips to the shoulder, you think of another triangle on its point. Those two triangles are supposed to sit together like this, and you have the body as a perfect hourglass. The African form rotates that inward. In African-based cultures, God is in the earth, not above you in the sky. So you find African form falling. You find the dancer leaning towards the earth or gesturing towards the earth. In the European form, the goal is to...
What message are you trying to convey to your audience?
This is a very good question. You know, in America today, there is much that we know about all of the ways that African Americans and Irish fought against each other. We know all about the struggle. We know all about the racism. We know all about two poor people who are fighting for the same jobs, for the same status. But we don't know much about the joy of them coming together. And so our message is all of the safe places where the two cultures came together. In music, in dance, in joke, in riddle, in contest, in parades, in celebration days, in feast days, in fiddles. The fiddle was a European instrument that Africans took up and became popularized, and it was a way that you could actually work yourself out of slavery. If you've seen 12 Years a Slave, you know that Solomon Northup was a fiddler, and that's what. The banjo is an African instrument that crossed over into Ireland. So our message is about common places, shared places, and shared experiences. Race is what you're born into, culture is what you build together. So our work is about common culture.
Thank you.
Thank you. You're a very intelligent young lady.
Thank you, Mick and Lenny, for your time. This is Micaiah from Junior High School 189, signing off at Flushing Town Hall.